And we're back. Southeastern 16, Max Barr, SEC basketball talk. Thursday morning, Max. Wednesday night was the deadline for the NBA draft entries, and we kept thinking, at some point the SEC, one of these guys is going to stay, right? I mean, come on, like one of these guys got to stay. And then the SEC just kept swinging, home run, swinging, home run. You like that baseball tie-in during the NCAA baseball tournament, don't you? Because the SEC, a big winner in the NBA draft deadline withdrawal spot, because, I mean, pretty much every player that we said would be significant for the top teams in the SEC, we said, hey, this guy has got to come back, got to come back, got to come back. They all came back, Max. Yep. Otega Oweh, Alex Condon, Tahaad, Pettiford, Karter Knox, Labaron, Philon. They're all back, and we're going to talk about all of them here as we jump into some SEC basketball discussion on a Thursday morning.
I think it was just Karter Knox. Or no, Karter Knox, Adu Thero. It was just Thero was the only possible one that could have came back. That was, he wasn't even in the conversations, really. We always knew.
I think we knew, yeah.
We always knew. But I'm just saying of like best possible case scenarios for the SEC. I mean, that quickly. And now I'm in a few different college basketball group chats. And I admittedly have been going along with the narrative of the SEC is probably going to take a step back from the absolute history. That just changed real quick. Not so much.
No more. The SEC's back. We got 15 teams in the tournament next year. We're not going to tell you which team we're keeping out, but we got 15 as of right now. We're going for the record. All right, that's what we do. We break records here in the SEC. But, yeah, I mean, I think, again, it was something where this was the best case scenario, I think, for these SEC teams like we talked about. Let's start with Oweh. And I know, Florida, you're defending national champions, and we'll get to you, I promise. But I think Oweh was the one that we said could have the most significant impact. And I know you could say, well, it could be Pettiford, could be whoever else. But I think when you looked at it from the Kentucky standpoint, we mentioned, as we did in the deep dive, Kentucky fans, check that out for the members only. You can see the membership link there at the top, $3.99 a month, gets you all the bonus content. But we said, like, Oweh was that piece to where it's a different team. They may play a little bit differently. The shooting may be different. But if they just got this guy back, then you knew it was going to be one that was all of a sudden you're going to put Kentucky probably in that, top 10 nationally type category heading into the season, just like Florida's going to be. I think just like Arkansas will probably be right now. We'll talk about the other teams in a minute. But Oweh coming back, is it fair to say he was probably the one we were the most, well, I don't know. I think I was a little more unsure on Pettiford. But, I mean, Oweh was pretty close in terms of maybe the uncertainty where we just didn't know, but we kind of felt like there was a good chance he'd be back.
Yeah, and it gets towards the last few days here, and we're hearing more and more of, man, he's getting really good feedback. He's getting really good feedback. He's getting really, really good feedback. And you start to get a little bit nervous, and then boom, comes back. This was the missing piece. Not the missing piece, but it was all those conversations of what does it look like if he's not there? Do we even want to entertain those conversations yet? Or do we want to get into that jinx? Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Like Mother Carol says, up, and away. I have seen a lot of conversation now on potential SEC Player of the Year candidates. And he just shot right into that top group, whoever you want to put into that top group. If you don't have Otega Oweh in there, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Well, it's funny, as Toon says here, Oweh recorded the I'm Back video a month ago before he cut his hair. And so we knew some of these players are going to make it pretty dramatic, right? They're going to wait to the final moment, because why wouldn't you? You want to get all the feedback you can get, and you kind of, like we said, I felt like there seemed to be some more positive momentum, at least from my confidence level, that he would be back. But it always gets a little dicey when you're getting this close to the deadline, because you just know that guys are getting, you're getting that kind of feedback, and you're trying to get everything you can to make sure you make the right decision. As we said, NIL certainly plays into it. And we will jump into your chats and super chats, of course, from the legend, Florida Basketball Hour, the one and only. We will get into that shortly as we talk about Alex Condon after this. But yeah, I think when you kind of look at it here from Kentucky's standpoint, as we said, Oweh averages 16.2 points per game last year, 5 rebounds, did a little bit of everything on that team, almost a couple steals. We mentioned like he's one of those guys, shot 35.5% from three. That is going to be valuable, as we said on this team. Even though he only made 27 last year, I think it would be expected that he is going to probably up those numbers a little bit. Probably needs to up those numbers. I think there's no question about that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's funny because like these guys that came back, I honestly, like, we can put probably these top 5 guys we're going to talk about today. We can probably put all of them in the top probably 7 or 8 of the SEC Player of the Year category. So again, think about, we talk about just the significance of this group of players that we're gonna discuss. I mean, the fact that all of them are probably SEC Player of the Year candidates, at least in the top 8, top 10, that shows you something. But I think with Oweh, as we said, Max, I mean, you look at just the Kentucky roster itself, and I know you had it pulled up there a second ago. I mean, he's the catalyst that's going to make this stuff go because, we mentioned the potential breakout year for Aberdeen coming over from Florida. You've got a front court with Mo D, who we know kind of, brings a different, kind of skill set to the table. Brandon Garrison steps into a bigger role. Jalen Lowe comes over. Can he be the next great Kentucky point guard? You've got a bench that is kind of filled with underclassmen, but still, I mean, the guys that you expect to have a chance to play. And then, the wild card is still Jaden Quaintance, I think, with his team to see, as we said. I mean, he's, in best case scenario, Jaden Quaintance is an SEC Player of the Year type candidate. If he's fully healthy and ready to go. So I think it's clear to see why Kentucky, now with Oweh back, looks like one of the top teams in the SEC, just because the depth is there, and now you've got kind of your guy that makes everything go and should be an SEC Player of the Year candidate.
Yeah, and if you were with us for the Kentucky deep dive and our members only, I illustrated how important free throw rate is going to be for this Kentucky team with the not elite volume of shooting. There will still be plenty of shooting on Mark Pope's team, don't get me wrong, but not close to last year's with Kobe Bryant, best shooter in the entire country, coming in. Oweh is going to be one of the highest free throw rate guys in the league next year. Coming off of last year, he is going to be the top returner in free throw rate for Kentucky. The only guy on this team right now that you're looking at that had a higher one was Mo Diabate. And look at them standing right next to each other. So just massive for the physicality around the rim, in terms of what they're going to be getting their offense from, what you can rely on. Last year, it might have been the perimeter scoring. I think next year, it's really going to be that physicality in and around the rim. And Oweh just solidifies that.
Yeah. Again, he was kind of, as we keep saying, go back to last year at this time. We just were not saying a whole lot about Oweh because we were looking at kind of other spots and really focused on them. And then he became kind of the guy that, like we said, made things go for them. And now I think they're in a position where that's going to be the same. He's the guy now on this team going into next season. And it's really a matter of seeing just how all these other guys are going to fit around him. I mean, I really think that's what it comes down to with Kentucky. So yeah, I mean, any additional thoughts, Max, on the Kentucky roster here now? You kind of just mentioned it, but now that we have a kind of a full look at it and maybe different expectations, anything like that, before we move on to Alex Condon.
No, I just think that if you're trying to project a rotation here, like I have tried to do with the Kentucky fans in the Trilly Discord, good luck, okay? You got Cam Williams on the bench there. The NBA loves him, okay? NBA loves him. You got JQ, like you said, SEC Player of the Year candidate. I've just got him with a star on the third line because he's injured right now. I mean, the dangerous depth here. That's not a thing you can say about most teams right now. A lot of teams have that nice starting five, and then you look into the bench and it starts to get a little iffy. Not the case with the Cats.
All right, couple comments here on Oweh before we jump into everything else. Let's see here, Max. I'm gonna find a couple here. As Big Gator EJ notes, yes, Denzel Aberdeen was at the White House with the Gators. But yeah, I think wild card here too. We talked about, what did we say? How do we pronounce it, Max? I know we got it right.
Yelovich.
It's Yelovich. That's right. I thought that was right. Yeah, he's kind of a wild card. We mentioned that recently in terms of the role he could play, and that goes into your point on the rotation. You just don't know what it's going to look like necessarily. And so yeah, I think that's that's something else to look at with that. So yep, Otega Oweh returning to Kentucky. A significant return for sure. And like we said, I think the biggest strength for this Kentucky team is going to be their depth and the ability for Mark Pope to use a lot of different rotations now moving forward there, without a doubt. So, all right, there's some thoughts on Oweh. Big Baller Brad's asking a question here before we move on. Why do you have a crown by your name? So apparently YouTube has this new thing they're doing. It's like some kind of leaderboard or something like that. I'm going to try to pull it up here. And so it's the first time I've ever seen this before. And so I'm not really sure, Big Baller Brett. Like, it's apparently like you're ranked somehow. If you go to that little community thing up there, it shows the community leaderboard. And right now, Big Baller Brett, Big Gator EJ, Toon, Shane, Brian, Benson, Mother Carol, they've all got 75 XP. I don't even know what that means. But apparently, it means something. Big Baller Brett's in the lead because he's making the most contributions. Yeah, as Benson says here. Robert, I'm going to assume this is Robert. But yeah, I think that's kind of a new thing. So contribute.
XP. Double XP weekend.
Don't be spamming the chat. All right. Maybe they took our thing, number one seeds. Like, maybe it's the seeding.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Shane's saying you can use XP to buy super chats. Now we're talking, YouTube. Now that's kind of a smart move. So I like that. All right.
I like it a lot.
I like it. All right. Let's get into Alex Condon.
Gators.
But you know what?
Gators.
Before we do that, Max. What do I see here? What is this? Is that a gator on the screen? Wait, is that a gator on the screen? Could this be a hint at potentially a new ad read here at Southeastern 16? Stay tuned until later in the show where you can find out. Ooh, got a couple good ad reads coming later. All right. Alex Condon is back. He was one that I think we were a little bit unsure of because we knew he was getting some pretty good feedback, it seemed. He was starting to move up the draft boards a little bit, but he's back. And so everything we talked about, we were kind of going all in on the fact that Florida's going to have their entire front court back. Well, we won that one because they are going to have their front court back as Condon returns. And I'm just going to stick with the same theme I said before. I said if Condon came back, I think that they are the favorite. And now, especially when you added Boogie Flan to the mix, as we talked about last week, I think, to me, they're the favorite. And so, how many teams, as we said now, and you pointed this out the last time we talked about them, which was when Boogie Flan transferred last week or whatever, you said how many other teams out there, not just in the SEC, but nationally, have as many potential first-round and second-round draft picks as Florida? So now you've got, how many guys that we probably look at as future, and we're really not even having a good idea of being able to project, kind of the freshmen out that far in terms of that. But some of these guys too are NBA type prospects. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I'm going to point this out too here, Brock. You're tired of hearing about the Gators. They're defending national champions. So we're going to talk about the Gators for a little bit. Alex Condon returns, and
yeah, no question about it. And I feel like the whole depth conversation around Florida is a little bit of a different situation than most teams because you see Tommy H there in the starting wing spot, but he's also going to slide into that 4 spot, that vacant on the graphic you see here. that vacant 4 spot next to Condon. He's going to play both. This can be a 30-minute a game guy. He was like a top 5 Evan Mia player in the nation last year. So, like, that depth that it doesn't look like there's a whole lot on the second line, it is some of the best depth in the entire country. The front court. I sent a tweet out a few days ago saying that Florida was the best front court in the country. One, that is truly what I believe, but also just to get a little conversation sparked. And there's a few different names thrown out there. There was a Michigan. Surprised there was no Tennessee with all the hype that they have. A few different front courts. For me, Blake, it is clear as day. Clear as day. Tommy H., Alex Condon, Chinyelu, Henlockton, Mikic, these guys are far and away the best front court in the country. And in a year where a lot of bigs that have been in college basketball for a long time, Broom, Kalkbrenner, these guys are no longer in the picture. All of them are back for Florida.
They are. Brock, Florida. No, we're messing around. But by the way, too, I was going to bring this up because we talked about it last time. Florida's national championship odds since Alex Condon announced his return, they've not moved. Plus 1,600. You can get it at DraftKings if you want that right now. So,
did you take any of that yet?
Oh, are you kidding me? Of course I have. I was expecting this thing to move up considerably, but it hasn't. But I'll tell you, there has been some movement when it comes to this. Houston, who, of course, got also a very significant return. They are now the co-favorite, according to the draft odds, with Purdue. Uzan's back. So Purdue and Houston, your current front runners. Duke is in second or third, I guess, behind them. Michigan, UConn, Florida. BYU, St. John's, Kentucky is the rundown there. So, all right, back to Condon. And I think it's a great point here from our guy, Neil, Florida Basketball Hour, $10 super chat. We always appreciate those guys. Keep them coming on the super chats. But, all the whining about NIL. But it's been exceptional for the sport of college basketball. 5 years ago, no chance that Oweh, Pettiford, Condon, Boogie Flan, and America's sixth man. I like that. America's sixth man. Tommy H. returned, but now they're all back. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's no chance those guys are coming back in the previous landscape. And so, yeah, I mean, it's great for the SEC. And like we said, I think it's, we were talking earlier about how we felt like we were sort of the pessimists a little bit, kind of on the SEC, thinking there's no way they can replicate it. But now I think you're clearly looking at it, especially when you talk about the top teams and being able to replicate that kind of success. And I think that's where, again, when you talk about Condon, I mean, go back to last year, and there were so many games, right, where you're looking up, and it's why Florida won the national championship. But you're looking up, and there are different guys that are going to impact the game each time, right? Sometimes the Will Richard game, it was an Elijah Martin game, it was a Tommy H game. Obviously, Walter Clayton had a lot of those games. Like, Condon just always seemed like the guy. It's just sort of, man, that guy's always doing something. Like, he's out there making a big play somewhere, somehow, some way, and it wasn't always just scoring, right? It may come in and block a couple shots, may get a big offensive rebound, and so now, like, it's kind of exciting to see how his development continues, because you kind of know that usually when you have a year like he had last year, and you kind of saw some of the pieces start to click together, and like we said, he's got things you can't teach. You can't teach the size. You can't teach sort of the good touch I think he has around the rim and those kind of things. I mean, this is just a guy that he's also in the SEC Player of the Year conversation with Tommy H. and with Boogie Flan. So Florida's got multiple guys that I would think will be in that running. So,
yeah, and great point here from FBH. Florida's plenty of depth. It's going to be about how the backcourt comes together, because this front court, like I said, no doubt about it. But even guys, just look at this backcourt right now, okay? You've got Xavier Lee, who just broke the assist record at Princeton, okay? Then you got Boogie Fland, NBA future through and through. That is an incredible two starters to have the question of, is this going to work? I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing to have. And I know RJ brings up The only issue he has with Condon's when he takes the ball up the court and thinks he's Allen Iverson. Well, hey, it's year 3, all right? He may have a chance to be that, all right? Don't discount the idea that may be a strength this season. But, no, I get what you're saying. And, I mean, too, though, that's, if you think about it, right, that's kind of the Todd Golden way. Like, I mean, you think about how many guys could just sit there and bring the ball up the court last year. I mean, Tommy H can bring the ball up the court. And we know, like you said, Lee's the guy that will have the ball in his hands a lot. Same with Boogie Flan. You're going to have another team where you've got possibly 4 guys on the floor at any time who can bring the ball up. And so I think that's a nice problem to have. So, yeah, I mean, I think Condon is clearly someone, as we said, when you think about that jump, what he did his freshman year, what he did his sophomore year, and now kind of what the expectation is for him on this team, which, as we said, could be the favorite by the start of the season to win the national championship again. I just think you're going to continue to see that. And look, we kept saying, too, one of the things with Florida, the offensive rebounding was just such a big part of what they did. And now when you just think about all these guys back who just attack the glass and are just relentless around the rim, yeah, I mean, I just don't know. I don't know how you don't look at this team and think that if they're not your favorite, you know, they've got to be in the top 3, I think, when it comes to national title contenders heading into next season. So it's just a matter of seeing, as you said, how the backcourt plays out.
I got one more angle here. So look at the 3-point development for Tommy H and Condon. Tommy H, his freshman year, made 12 threes. This past year, he made 35. Big jump. Mm-hmm. Alex Condon, his freshman year, made 11. This past year, he made 19. Now these guys are in pretty clear consensus. This is going to be their last year in college with the NBA calling. We've seen how quickly a shot can develop in an offseason on some of these NBA prospects. What happens if that 19 threes, that 20 threes for Condon turns to 40 and he's making a three a game? You know, maybe sometimes it's 2 threes, but he's consistent. You're getting a 3 or 2 from Condon. Given the development of Tommy H last year, going from 12 made threes to 35, I don't think it's too far out there to put that out. Hey, Condon might develop even more of a 3-point shot, and that's something that no one's talking about. I haven't even really thought about it until now.
Yeah, opportunity too. I feel like he took advantage of the open shots he had last year, and now it's like it didn't feel like he was someone who was like trying to step out and be one of those guys who was forcing threes. Like he took it when they were available, and like you said, I mean, he was able to knock some down. So yeah, and as Big Gator EJ notes, I mean, Condon returning, yeah, for Tommy H, there's a big difference in playing the 3 than the floor. We'll see how it works out, but yeah, I mean, you're gonna kind of maneuver some guys around, but the idea that you could have 3 players on the floor, 6'9", 6'11", 6'11", and the 6'9" guy plays like a point guard sometimes. It's just it's wild. But yeah, so Condon returning, a significant development for the defending national champions, and as we said, they will undoubtedly be clearly one of the teams that will be the favorite heading into next season. So, all right, now let's continue on, Max, because as we know, some of these guys are not going to have to move. They're going to get to stay in their location, Max. Yes. They're going to get to stay right where they were. Now, it's not for Boogie Fland, not for some of the other guys who decided to stay in the draft, but for the guys who return, Max, they said, I'm staying. And that's a good thing for those teams, but it's a bad thing for the possible experience that they are leaving on the table of moving with our friends at Sanders Moving. Because, as you know, Sanders Moving, formerly known as Ted R. Sanders Moving and Sanders Logistics, a leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. Their team of professional movers focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price, whether you're moving across town or across the country. Sanders Moving has you covered. Visit them at tedrsandersmoving.com. And remember, we're not done with the reads today. Oh, there's the Gator. Who's next, Max? Should we go to maybe a little hog talk? How about a little Karter Knox talk real quick?
Yep.
How about that?
Sign me up.
Because we got to talk about Karter Knox, which that was a couple of days ago, but we do want to kind of mention him for a minute because the Razorbacks also with a pretty loaded roster here by getting Knox back. He was kind of my guy that I pinpointed. We did our SEC Player of the Year early candidates for members. If you want to check that out, join the membership tier. The link at the top of the chat. And I said he's kind of a wild card Player of the Year type candidate. Looked at his numbers last year. He really started to, make a significant jump forward. You saw the way he finished the season. And now he's back. And I think Arkansas is very talented. And like I said, I think you're going to see a lot of people. And I haven't looked at any way too early top polls or whatever, but I would have to think Arkansas to me is a top 15 team at worst, just based on the fact that you've got the standout backcourt. You've got Karter Knox returning for a huge potential breakout sophomore season into SEC Player of the Year contention. Billy Richmond could be the same. We mentioned the importance of getting experienced guys like Ewan and Pringle in the front court to go along with someone else who's played a lot of minutes in Brazil. The numbers are not the same. It's kind of the same story as last year, right? The numbers may not compare to what a Florida or Kentucky has right now, but still, pure talent. Once again, Cal's got himself a pretty nice roster here with Knox coming back.
Yeah, big gator right here. Okay, the SEC is ridiculous. Yeah, this whole time we've had this notion of the SEC is going to take a step back, and then after these rosters all get the final pieces, it's holy smokes, I don't really see other teams out there. Now, every league I think has one or two, the Power Five. Every team you have one or two teams that are going to be elite, 100%. But you don't have a top six like the SEC does, where it's you can genuinely make a case for all six that I'd hear your argument for them to be preseason number one in the SEC. No other league has that. And so it's the depth of the top teams, I think, is what separates the SEC. Just look at this freaking roster. You got DJ Wagner as a junior coming off the bench. And if that's wrong, if I'm wrong there, you got a 5-star coming off the bench. Whatever way you want to swing it. Name me a better a more talented three-man backcourt than Acuff, Thomas, and DJ Wagner just to start the season. If you want to slide Billy Richmond down there, 6'5", plays like he's 6'10", with that wingspan. I mean, the versatility, the athleticism, the switchability on defense. We haven't even mentioned Trayvon Brazile, who was an SEC Player of the Year preseason candidate a few years ago. Now the injuries, the multiple injuries and everything, that doesn't have the explosiveness he used to have. But I mean, my gosh, this was a team that had a sniff at the Final Four last year. I mean, they were on a run and playing some insane defense. How is this team? Okay, hear me out. Do you think this team's better or worse than last year's roster? Just yes or no.
I mean, I think they're more dynamic at more positions.
Talent-wise.
Yeah.
Because last year Boogie was injured the whole year.
Mm-hmm. That's
and then
what
you
I
had
was
DJ
kind of factoring
and John L. And it's this year, if these guys aren't injured, this is in my eyes, a more talented team than last year. And look at where they ended up last year, given all the injuries.
Yeah, and I think that's where you factor in the year twos for Knox and Richmond
exactly.
too, where I think they're better this year than they were last year. And I think one maybe significantly, as we said, a Karter Knox could be going into a different stratosphere. And so that elevates that. So, if you're talking about ceiling and all that, sure, remember, as you said, I mean, John L. Davis is there last year, Boogie Flan's there last year, but I think we said it, I mean, Adu, right? Adu eventually got going, but the injuries were just something where that team was just so brutal. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just when you look at the top 8 that they have here, and Eddie kind of brings that up in terms of the top 8, that's kind of what I was looking at. Their top 8 rotation is good enough to go at anybody nationally. But again, yes, I think this is a great point. But you need everything to kind of go right. And that's kind of where we are. And, you have to be able to make sure that these guys play well together. The chemistry's there and those kind of things. And it is fair to kind of say, well, those are some of the things that Cal has had issues with, as we know, not just at Arkansas, but at Kentucky too. And so I think it's fair to point that out. But, this is what we do this time of year, right? It's like we go with what we have to go on. And what we have to go on is everybody's healthy. You're looking at a rotation where I said the top 8, I think, is as good as anybody's out there, and from just a talent standpoint. But sure, you could also go back, and I'm sure last May, June, we probably said the same thing. And so it's just, will it all go right? Probably not, because rarely does everything go right. But yeah, you need a little bit more wiggle room in terms of injuries and those kind of things. But I mean, when you look at it, that's where we are with this Arkansas team again.
Hey, I didn't know this. I was just looking at some stats. I didn't know Trayvon Brazile had the #1 2-point percentage in the country last year on KenPom. They have like the minutes played requirement, so it's not literally like he wasn't 100%, but he was 66 of 84 for 78% from 2. KenPom has that #1 in the country.
Wow, I didn't realize that either.
Didn't know that.
But I mean, he's someone too that doesn't. I mean, we remember what the discussion was on Brazile, several years ago.
Yeah.
And, after he transferred from Missouri to Arkansas, he came in and, again, there were such high expectations, and then you just had the injury that, I mean, he was playing like an SEC Player of the Year guy to start that season.
Yes.
Where were they playing at? Were they in Maui? Yeah, so that was when they were in Maui. Comes out of that, and, eventually he gets the injury and out for the year, comes back, then, kind of has that stretch that next year where I think, didn't play a lot. It was just a weird year that next year.
Weird.
As we know. And then last year, kind of, times a similar situation. Didn't play a lot of minutes, but towards the end of the season, you couldn't take him off the floor. So there's been ups, there's been downs, but, man, if he's what he can be, and it's a little bit more consistent, then yeah, I mean, I think that's where, like, you bring Knox back. He is kind of the focal point outside of just the superstar freshman guards. Yeah, I mean, this team's got it. It's got what you need to do a lot. So, yeah. All right. Yes, as Shane knows,
a few big ones.
We got baseball coming up in a half hour. If you guys want to hop on, they're going to go live, talk about all the regionals, get started tomorrow. You can check out all the predictions as well. 13 of them, 13 regional predictions currently up on the channel. Like we're in basketball season, doing 14 first-round games in the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, you can check out all the stuff they got going here on baseball. Again, guys, help out the channel. Join that membership. It just means more. $3.99 a month. That helps us out. The Super Chats help us out, helps us do more of these in the off-season. Yeah, we appreciate your support because that's what keeps us going. So, yeah, any you can give, we do appreciate it. And let's maneuver on, Max. How about to the Auburn Tigers? Now, hold on. We got to do this the right way.
Yep.
Auburn is up next, and let me see if I can get that to the right
There
spot.
they are.
Look who's right there. You got Kentucky, you got Auburn, you got Duval, Smokies there. Sven, you got the Bulldog from Mississippi State right up there too. And by the way, Sven, don't worry. More baseball predictions posting today. So you'll get the final regionals posted up today. So they're going up. They're scheduled and ready to go. All right, let's talk about Pettiford. Tahaad Pettiford is back on the plains for the Auburn Tigers. Now, that's a big one because we said we talked about the transfers, the Keyshawn Hall, we talked about Keyshawn Murphy, Overton coming in, like land another big addition. Yesterday, we're going to talk about him. And we're like, all right, clearly the one piece that can kind of put this all together is a Player of the Year potential Tahaad Pettiford, right? And so I think, clearly that's now having him back. Like he is, we talk about guys that are going to make you go. He's going to make Auburn go. And now, Max, I think initially we were kind of looking at Auburn and saying, they were kind of in that spot where I'm trying to think who the other teams, maybe Tennessee, kind of in that spot where like they have that one piece that you're just waiting to see how it's going to unfold, right? And we talked about with Tennessee, that could be like the 2-guard. Although there's also been an update on that with Desmond Claude is back in the mix, it sounds like, at Tennessee based on some of the stuff from yesterday. What a whirlwind that's been. We'll talk about that at the end. But Pettiford was that missing piece. for Auburn. Now he's back, and immediately for me, that once again catapults Auburn back into SEC title contention. Oh, hold on. Before we get there, hang on just a second. Before we get to there, before we talk about Tahaad, Daniel said, you know what? I'm all in. A $200 super chat from Daniel on a Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Incredible. Oweh makes Kentucky the team to beat in the SEC. Make it October already. We'll do anything you want, Daniel, for $200. Love the show, guys. Counting on it to help you get through the summer without basketball. You're an unbelievable person, Daniel. Unbelievable. $200 super chat. Incredible.
Can't thank you enough, Daniel. My goodness.
That's it. Forget Tahaad Pettiford. We're going back to talk about Kentucky. Just kidding. Just kidding, Todd. We're going to talk about you for a few minutes.
Holy smokes. All right. Regroup, Maxie. Daniel.
All right, Max. Tahaad Pettiford.
Tahaad Pettiford. What I was going to say about Tahaad was his player comps. You know, this is one of Blake's favorite things when we do our off-season stuff is looking at the Ken Pom player comps. Tahaad Pettiford, his second highest one. So, like, the second statistical match for him, Carson Edwards, freshman year.
Oh, wow.
I think we know how that turned out. One of the best guards I've seen in my lifetime playing college. Just absolutely incredible college guard. You're talking about a guy in Tahaad Pettiford that we didn't even project to be a starter last year. We had J.P. Pegues as the starting point guard with Tahaad Pettiford coming off the bench. We did not know how he was going to be. And very quickly, I think it was that Houston game. We're like, holy smokes, he's one of the ones. He's a dude immediately. And look at how much better he got from that November 9th Houston game into SEC play. More controlled with the ball in his hands. Got that turnover rate down. This is a guy that had an assist rate of 23% and a turnover rate of only 16% as a freshman. That's pretty dang good in the best league in America. I think he might be candidate for like biggest leap. You're talking, he might do that Oweh thing where he has double digits in every game, and you're like, when is this guy ever not going to score? He might score double digits every game. Is that a bold prediction? That's a bold prediction right there. Bold prediction. Tahaad Pettiford will not have a single game in single digits. Mark it down.
All right, that's fair. The player comps, I am fascinated by these because you brought up Carson Edwards for Pettiford.
There's a few others.
R.J. Davis.
Yep.
Angel Rodriguez, remember, who was at Kansas State before he went on to play at Miami. Isaiah Cannon, who was at Murray State and was just an unbelievable player. I mean, this guy was just ridiculous and he got drafted and went on to play for somebody.
He went to the Rockets, I think.
Is that right? Maybe. Lamar Peters, who was at Mississippi State. So Mississippi State fans remember Lamar Peters. And then another one, Scottie Pippen, who was at Vanderbilt, as we know. And so those are your player comps based on the data for Tahaad Pettiford. Those are all like big-time guards. And we knew that, as we said last year. We pointed out all the different statistical trends with Pettiford. And he was just a gamer. The dude went out, neutral court, road games, one of the best players on the floor usually every single time. So as a freshman to be able to do that, that tells you something about kind of the mentality the guy has. And now, like you said, you look at going from freshman, going to sophomore. Everyone always talks about the freshman to sophomore jump that players can make.
Yep.
I mean, classic. It's like, and he's the guy, right? Like, I mean, he is going to be the guy that, is going to have the ball in his hands all the time on this team. He's going to be the distributor. He's going to be the scorer. He's going to do everything because the ball, I would guarantee you, is when he's on the floor, Bruce Pearl wants the ball in his hands. He's got to touch it on an offensive possession. You can't have an offensive possession where Tahaad Pettiford doesn't touch the ball. And so I think that is going to be a huge help because as we said too, right, you look at some of these guys that Auburn brought in. I mean, as we mentioned, Murphy's going to be more, he's not Janai Broome, which that's not knocking Keyshawn Murphy. It's just he's probably not going to offensively do the same things that Broome brought to the table. But defensively and rebounding-wise, he's going to be a stud. And, as we mentioned, some of the other guys, like Hall can kind of do a little bit of everything. We mentioned Overton, the ability he's going to have, like to help them scoring-wise. But,
Yep.
Pettiford is the clear sort of guy you think that everything's going to run through. And this was, man, this was one that I thought was trending in the wrong direction. I thought he was
Me too.
out of there. But now that he's back, count me in. I'm back in on the Tigers.
Yeah, they were floating on that because we had really early on, man, feels like almost, it's got to be like a month and a half ago now. We kind of identified those top 6 teams, but it was really like there was a top 2 or 3, and then there were a few other teams that were like, they're probably going to be elite as well, but I wouldn't argue them to be the preseason favorite. That day that Auburn just had, adding Tahaad, Pettiford, and then Jovic, the Serbian international, who I'm not too good with the international guys, but I'm in a few group chats with Armin. And if you guys know Armin, he's like the PDT scouting, one of the best international scouts on Twitter. He loves Jovic. Says he's probably going to be a one and done. NBA prospect. Was averaging 12 and 6 in the Serbian international. This is the same that Nikola Jokic came from. This guy is going to be legit. This guy's yes. He's an NBA player. Don't sleep on Jovic at all. They just added 2 NBA players in like 24 hours. So
yeah, I wanted to point that out. Like, this guy's a pro. Like, he has the pro skill set. Like, he's got all that. And again, like an international player. I think it was Justin Ferguson. The first time Auburn's brought an international player, I think since 14 or 15, something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just that kind of shows you that I think that this guy was clearly someone they identified could have been kind of that missing piece. And yeah, like that was the first word that came to mind for me as you sort of watch some of the stuff on. Like, he's a pro. He's got that current NBA type skill set where you know he's going to probably be in high demand at some point, in the near future. So so if you add him to the mix, Pettiford, like we said, all of a sudden Auburn becomes a lot more of, I'm not saying they're the clear favorite or anything, but like all of a sudden, like, stock up. If we're just doing a simple stock up, stock down, like Auburn stock way up potentially when it comes to just kind of where we think they're at here heading into June. So
also, I don't think Auburn is done. They're still looking at I'm going to say his name wrong. It's either Desert. Is the French international 6'11" French guy Bryce Desert. You can say it any way you want. It's one of those ones. He's 22 years old though. French international, plays just like Dylan Cardwell, probably even better than Dylan Cardwell. They've been looking at these international bigs for a while now. If Auburn lands this guy Desert, I might have to change. There's going to be some more conversations to be had because that would the only thing, every team has like a one question, even Florida that we probably will have as our preseason favorite. There is the question of, does Lee and Flan, will they translate and mesh well together? We haven't seen that yet. Mm-hmm. My question here with Auburn is the interior rim protection. Murph kind of started his career at Mississippi State as the 4, behind Cam Matthews, but not the splitting time with Cam Matthews at the 4, not with Tolu Smith and Jimmy Bell at the 5. So he's a little bit of that hybrid. I'm thinking if some of the best bigs in the nation are playing Auburn, I'd be like, ooh, that might be an area the opponent could attack, is that interior rim protection. They get this 6'11", 250 guy Desert. Well, that question gets answered.
All right. I wanted to pull this up here quickly. CJ said, I think this is an interesting point here. I, for one, am glad to get back to our roots and not run through a big man. Getting ready for running and shooting. Got shooters everywhere. So there you go. Hey, I mean, that's, again, that we always said that was kind of, the Bruce Pearl way. He's always had really talented big men and usually stocked up with depth there. But, yeah, I mean, that you would expect in terms of the playing style. It's all going to run through those guys. And that's where I think, Jovic is going to be interesting to see how they run their offense with him too. So, yeah, I think that
he's a 3-level scorer.
Yeah. So, all right, Auburn, stock up everywhere. Stock up for the Alabama Crimson Tide too.
Yes.
Labaron Philon. Now, he's the one we thought was gone. Like, we did not think this guy was coming back. And he's back. So, Alabama brings back Labaron Philon. Now, you look at Alabama and look at the possibility of having him sitting there with Aiden Holloway, with Reitzel. We talked about the front court. It's got a new look to it, but plenty of depth there, I think, in terms of the rotations they can play. Backcourt's just, backcourt's loaded. There's no other way to look at it. I mean, this backcourt is ridiculous. When you talk, but that's what Alabama wants, right? Like, they want to be able to play multiple guards at the same time, get up and down the court, have guys who can shoot, have guys who can handle the ball, attack the rim. Look at that backcourt. Like, look at those first three guys that they're going to run in the backcourt with Philon, Holloway, and Reitzel. And then you've got, Houston Millette's there. Jalil Bethea joins. We mentioned kind of the excitement for him. Whoa. I know Mark Sears isn't on this depth chart here, Max, but the overall quantity that Nate Oates has here with Philon coming back, tremendous.
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to do in the offseason is to add up the accumulative the new roster, their 3-point numbers from the previous year, to try to project how are these guys as a team going to shoot. Alabama is far and away the number one 3-point shooting team in the league next year. Far and away. They're number one in three-pointers made as a team from last year, and they're number one in 3-point percentage. They've made the most and shoot the highest percentage, and it's not even close. Their team percentage right here from last year, the cumulative team percentage, 38.8%. Second in the SEC is 1.5% lower at 37.3%. They are head over heels the best shooting team in the league. And now maybe where they don't have, they don't have the Grant Nelson and Big Cliff that they, maybe they don't have the physicality, the beef down low. Aiden Sherrell, they're going to be playing 5 out. Sherrell's going to be able to shoot. TBB was, every team in the SEC wanted him. Kentucky really wanted him. He was their first target at the 4 for his shooting.
We love him.
This team, just based on their shoot, they're going to win games just by making threes. That's how good this team is going to be able to shoot.
Yeah, again, I'm very high on Bowen, as we said. We talked about, like, Bristow is also, like, he's someone that I think that, a lot of...
Everyone can shoot. Williamson.
A lot of... Yeah, everybody can shoot. I think, again, this is where, like, we've not talked a lot about Alabama, and it was because we were waiting to see how some of these decisions played out. But now that you look at kind of not a completely full roster, but kind of a full roster here, they are right there. Like, I don't see how they're not, just based on, like you said, the shooting element, which is what they've always used to be very successful. And, to me, I'm probably most curious about Alabama defensively, to see what they look like on the defensive side of the floor. And and look, you bring it up here too. Like, I think when you bring it up like this, Big Baller Brett, that's where you talk about, like, what these guys bring to the table individually in terms of their defense. We talked about that with Bowen when we did the video on him, however long ago that was. But now that you bring Philon back, you've got a guy who obviously is going to be able to disrupt things in the backcourt. But I think, to me, just the overall team defense, that is, I'm not saying it's like a concerning question or anything. I just want to see how it looks. But there's no question about the shooting ability of this team. Like, they've just got guys all over the court that are going to be able to knock down shots. And what do you know? That's kind of been the staple of the Nate Oates era.
The worst shooter on this team from last year's number, the absolute worst shooter, is the 7-foot center, Noah Williamson, who shot 31.8%, made 28 3-pointers. He almost made a 3 a game. That's their worst. Their worst shooter shot 32%. That's the worst on the team. There's not a single player on this roster that you can give space, that you can just sag off and let them shoot. There's not a single one. No other team in the country can say that. This might be the best shooting team in the country.
And if it is, they're going to compete for an SEC title. There's no doubt. And look, if you look at the odds, the SEC has 7 of the top 16, I think it is, or 6 of the top 17. That's right. In terms of national title odds right now, we mentioned kind of the order: Florida, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama. Auburn and Alabama have the same odds. Tennessee a little bit ahead of them, which I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that right now after these moves. But get your Auburn and Alabamas at plus 3,000 right now. That's all I'm going to tell you. Get them both. Get them both. Unless you're an Auburn or Alabama fan, there's no way you're buying both of those. But yeah, I'm stock up on the Tide because I think, and when we said it too, this is where when we were thinking the SEC could take a little bit of a step back. It was more so, I think, sure, we were questioning, are you going to have that many teams that are good enough to make the tournament? But also, would those top-tier teams be on the same level as,
Yes.
Well, you had 5 teams in the top 10 at one point last year, whatever. Right? You had all those kind of things. Now I'm like, I think we're at the same spot. I think we're talking about the same discussion where Alabama, to me, top 15 team, probably. Auburn, top 15 team, probably. Arkansas, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, maybe. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. So, very curious to see where we wind up ranking them when we do our way too early rankings here pretty soon.
Also, one more piece. Those 3 freshmen, London Jemison, Davion Hanna, Amari Allen, all of them are 4 stars. None of them from 247 ESPN, On3, Rivals, none of them have a 3-star rating. All 4 recruiting services for all 3 of those freshmen are all, I think the lowest rating is, I think On3 has Amari Allen at number 68. That's the lowest rating of all 3 of the freshmen. We haven't even mentioned them. There's another. Jemison is.
I think he's going to be the dude of the group. We'll find out. But, yeah, we'll see. All right. There you go. The Big Five. Our starting 5 here today on our SEC. We went 5 for 5. I mean, it's shocking that the SEC was able to do that. But 5 for 5 on what could be 5 of the top 10 players in the league next season. So there you go. That's where things stand with that. Any other quick notes, Max, we have on anything else? We said we're not really going to jump into everything here. We'll do that more as we start to, when the calendar hits June, our schedule changes a little bit. So starting next week, you're going to see that there's going to be a little bit of an evolution of our SEC basketball coverage here at Southeastern 16. You're going to get a little bit more of a long-form show each week. And you're also going to get a little more of a college basketball flavor where we're going to kind of look around at the nation and give you some insight into how it's going to compare to the SEC and where the SEC sits among some of these other top teams nationally. We're going to take a look at some of those storylines starting next week. So if you just want your SEC basketball fix, you're going to be able to get that here. If you want a little bit more, if it just means more and you want a little bit more as to where these SEC teams actually fit into the national picture, we're going to give you some thoughts on some other teams as well in sort of a separate stream we're going to do each week. So lots of fun stuff that we're going to do for you guys each week now moving forward. Again, if you want to join the membership tier, still got bonus content, which we think moving forward, one of the main bonuses you're going to get each week, we're going to do a weekly live Q&A where you guys just kind of jump in, ask us anything, and we will just kind of touch on it. Kind of a weekly mailbag, fun show where it's a little bit more, focused on your questions and everything. So join the memberships. We're going to be doing that once a week as well. Hey, calendar's about to hit June, Max. I mean, we're getting close to the season in my mind. We're not that far away. So,
listen, I know we got a lot of people that want to get the best futures markets. Hey, for me personally, non-conference is where there's to be the most difference in Vegas lines. They don't know what you know as you've done off season of research. You know that the lines that are the odds makers set are from analytics. They're analytic based lines. Well, how are those analytics wrong? Well, how are those predictive analytics wrong? Where you think you may have an edge, that's where we'll have you covered.
All right. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Folks, everybody's chasing this guy right here. the Gator Chomp, the defending national champions. Somebody's got to dethrone them next March or April. Who's it going to be? We don't know yet. Will it be anybody? Will Florida repeat? We'll find out. But
real quick,
what
did
we
you
do
mention
know,
Claude?
I did kind of mention that
Claude.
Tennessee
Yeah,
was back
Claude.
in the mix a little bit there. Who was the other team? I forgot.
Oregon.
Oregon's the other team. So Tennessee could be back. That could be the missing piece for Tennessee. Stock up for the Vols potentially. We'll see. We'll see. Before we do that, folks, we've got a new sponsor. New sponsor alert. We will have all the information coming to you fast over the next week or so. We're going to get a logo put up. We're going to get everything put up. But for now, our friends at GameTime Sidekicks, the link in the chat, look at this work that they're doing over there. This is one of several cups that they sent me. These things are phenomenal. They sent it to me, Max. Look at this. I mean, this is just a tremendous quality product right here. Check out the link. We're going to give you all the information, promo codes, and everything coming next week. But yes, lock in. If you think the Sanders moving reads were great, just wait, because boy, do we have something fun coming for you with our friends over at GameTime Sidekicks. The best in the business, and we're going to talk all about it as we get this exciting partnership started with our friends over at GameTime Sidekicks. All right, guys, we appreciate you watching. Baseball is about to take center stage. Head over to the baseball chat. They're about to get started here in a couple minutes. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Southeastern 16.